Cherry cake, what the hell kind of cake should I make? Cherry cake, when I modulated, it was the wrong note. We're gonna make cherry cake. Now listen, people saw this on the gram over summer, and it got some attention. The real cake is called BEAUMES de Venise, which is a kind of wine. It's a Muscat wine. You don't need BEAUMES de Venise. You can make it with any white wine that's not super dry. We're gonna be using a strange combination of this wine from some party 8,000 years ago. I have no idea where this came from. And I'm gonna include a little bit of this magical stuff called COCCHI Americano, which you should also know about in terms of Christmas cocktails. Listen, this is an excellent additional cake, or if you don't feel like making a traditional fruit cake, this is a very good Christmas cake. It's a little bit coffee cake-ish, but you'll see it's very festive and lovely. So let's make cherry cake. You prepare the pan with olive oil, not butter. And the reason is because it makes a kind of a, almost like a coffee cake edge. I guess the oil assists with that. I already prepared this, but I'm redoing it a little bit. And I have a parchment paper, which I've also oiled. Butter from a cow. Here comes the butter. 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Boop. Mix it up. Remember, most Americans don't mix their cakes enough. This should be totally homogenized and fluffy. Remember in Close Encounters when the kid is hitting and he hits the wrong note and he just drives you nuts? You remember that scene? And when Richard Dreyfuss goes, I know you kids have noticed that there's something wrong with Dad. Great acting. He's on Celebrity Great British Bake Off, which I highly suggest you guys watch. Then I'm gonna add 2 eggs, according to Lynn. I think it's 2 eggs, yes. 1 at a time and fully incorporate. The reason why you do all this before the flour, which we've discussed before, is because you cannot whip flour because it will interfere with the gluten strand and you'll have a cake that's fully cooked but gummy. If you've ever wondered why your cake seemed raw but it wasn't raw, it's because you overmixed it once the flour was in. You can't overmix it before the flour is in. Yeah, 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. How weird is that? 1, 2, 3. You can make a cake. You've never made a cake. Make any of the cakes on our site. Or make this cake. Anyway, here's the other egg. Now, I don't add the leaveners to my flour ever until right before I'm gonna bake it because they react with air. 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And the most ridiculous measurement ever, 1/4 teaspoon. Seriously? How about just a pinch of baking soda? Cool. So that's ready. I'm gonna put some salt in here. I like quite a bit of salt, as you may have noticed. I am now going to pour out 1 cup of wine. I'm gonna alternate flour with the liquid. Why do they say that? Because they don't want you to mix the flour too much. So when they tell you put the flour in, alternating, ending with flour, they're doing that because it stops you from overbeating the flour. You'll see. I'm gonna start with flour. I'm gonna put about 1/3 of this in. I'm gonna gently mix it. Very gentle. I'm gonna alternate with this wine, which I'm gonna put a teeny bit of COCCHI Americano in. Don't ask me why. I forgot to buy the Muscat. So we're sort of making a Muscat in a weird way. Kind of tastes like BEAUMES de Venise. Here we go. 2nd, 3rd. Rest of the BEAUMES de Venise. Final flour. That's it. We're done. Just go around once. Make sure there's no sugar in the bottom. I usually serve 3 cakes at Christmas. This could be one this year. Spice cake, you have to serve the almond cake though, but you could do this cake and cookies, or this cake and meringue kisses, or I might do this cake, spice cake, and almond cake, and Christmas cake. The original recipe calls for grapes, and you're supposed to use Muscat grapes, but it's a different cake. I'm making a cherry cake. So I'm pouring this in. I'm trying not to touch the sides with the mix because that gives you a dirty edge and the cake will rise differently on that edge. And just gently press it into the pan like this. And then I'm going to stud this with Fabry cherries, the greatest, most delicious cherry in syrup in the world, the best in the world. They do not know I'm saying this. I'd be lost without these guys. Put one of these in a pink champagne, it's Christmas. Now you can do this, I'm making such a big mess here, just to get air bubbles out. And then I'm just gonna stud this in a studied randomness, one of the most difficult design things in the world. Ba-bum, 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 bum, ba-bum. This is gonna go into a 400 oven until it's kind of set, doesn't jiggle too much. Then you're gonna put these pieces of butter, trust me, it's a pain in the ass, and you're gonna sprinkle 2 tablespoons, do not skimp, of sugar. Here we go. Da-dee-da-da, America, my home. Cherry cake. I'm gonna just pull this out so you can see that it's like just set. Ooh, it's pretty runny, but I'm still gonna do this now. I got 2 tablespoons of butter here that I'm just gonna dot all over the top. You have to do this, but the most important thing is 2 tablespoons of sugar. Full, if not a little extra. Beautiful. Close it back up. That sugar is imperative to that cake. All right, so I'm just gonna take a look at this. So I can tell it's done because it's separated from the side, but I'm gonna check it anyway. Now remember, there's cherries in here, so don't be alarmed if you see cherry wet. So let's get this out. It's gonna cool in the pan until it's completely handleable, and then we're gonna tip it out, which is gonna make a mess because it's got loose sugar on it. So we're gonna tip it out over the garbage and set it on its cake tray. Voilà le gâteau de cerise, or gâteau cerise, I guess, right? Anybody speak French? Rosalind Hamilton does. Ooh, it's quite hot still, but oh well, we already started. Cherry cake. Make no mistake, you can bake a cherry cake. Do 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 da dee da da, America, my home.